Up next on Y News.
It was a firestorm, worst I've ever seen it.
Malibu residents reeling after devastating wildfires in California. Amnesty International strips Myanmar's Aung San Suu Kyi of highest human rights award. And screen superheroes lead tributes to comic book legend Stan Lee. And those are the reasons behind the stories in the second part of our newscast. Y News returns with William Thio. I'm Angelo, Castro III. Good evening.
Pinapahalaga ng sakripisyo ng mga OFW ng Villamor-Sipag. Kaya't kung ikaw, iyong anak o kamag-anak ay isang OFW, inaanyayahan kayong muli ng Villamor-Sipag OFW and Family Summit sa ika-8 taon nito na gaganapin sa World Trade Center sa November 21. Brand new house mula Camellia Homes ang maaari ninyo mapanalunan sa raffle at marami pang iba. Bisitahin lamang ang Villamor-Sipag Facebook page para sa kumpletong detalye.
And to complete the most significant news for this day, Y News continues. Here are the top stories. Defense Secretary Delphine Lorenzana believes that the alleged weather centers installed by China in the West Philippine Sea can be advantageous to the Philippines. Lorenzana told UNTV News in an exclusive interview ahead of the formal opening of the 33rd ASEAN Summit in Singapore that the Philippines also has shipping vessels and air units patrolling the area like China. The Secretary explains that such weather and maritime facilities are needed for navigational safety purposes, and the Philippines would benefit from it should the reports be verified as true. Lorenzana, however, clarifies that the only information they have on the said facility was the statement of Chinese Foreign Ministry Wang Yi. The Secretary also discloses that the government is contemplating on establishing a weather facility in Palawan to monitor Philippine vessels in the area.
It is for safety purposes. Hopefully, makinabang din tayo dyan kung isi-share nila sa atin yung mga nakukuha nilang mga weather. Tutulungan nila yung mga fishermen natin na na-stranded, and vice versa siguro kung tayo naman makakita ng stranded na fishermen nila, we also help.
Meanwhile, the Sandigan Bayan has ordered the arrest of former First Lady and now Ilocos Norte Congresswoman Imelda Marcos. The 5th Division of the Anti-Graft Court convicted Marcos last Friday for 7 counts of graft for creating and maintaining Swiss bank accounts while holding several positions during her husband's rule. In its order, the Sandigan Bayan directed the issuance of a warrant of arrest for Imelda, who failed to attend the promulgation of the decision. Consequently, the court forfeited her bail bonds and required the lawmaker to explain why no judgment on the bond should be issued within 30 days. The Sandigan Bayan is set to resolve on Friday, November 16, another case against the Marcos family, while the arrest of former First Lady Imelda Marcos on 7 counts of graft is looming. A civil forfeiture case pending before the Sandigan Bayan's 4th Division involves the incumbent congresswoman and her children, Ilocos Norte Governor Imee, former Senator Bongbong, and Irene Marcos. The more than 30-year civil case aims to recover 200 billion pesos worth of alleged ill-gotten wealth of the Marcoses on top of the 250 million pesos worth of money spent by the government to recover the said wealth. The Presidential Commission on Good Government, or PCGG, has submitted its summary of arguments and pieces of evidence to the anti-graft court. Retired Justice Lolong Lazaro is set to represent the Marcoses before the court to file another motion. Lazaro will replace Marcoses' lawyer Robert Sison, who was allegedly confined in Asian Hospital. Meanwhile, mobile phone users will soon have the option to switch networks or mode of subscription without having to change their numbers. This is after the Congressional Bicameral Conference Committee approved the proposal seeking to provide mobile phone users with a lifetime personal cell phone number. Under Senate Bill 636, subscribers can keep their existing mobile numbers even as they switch service providers. It will also prohibit telcos from locking mobile devices to their respective network. But in order to benefit from this measure, subscribers will have to register their SIM cards and some of their information.
The other effects will be dahil dapat yung number naka-register dun sa tao, so you have to register your name. So with that, it will also somehow improve the security aspect because ngayon malalaman na natin kung sino ang may-ari ng phone number na yun.
Once the Congress ratifies the bill, this will be submitted to President Rodrigo Duterte for signing. In other news, the Philippine National Police Anti-Cybercrime Group advises the public to exercise caution when using and posting comments in internet sites amid the rise of online crime cases in the country. Based on data from the PNP-ACG, online libel has consistently topped the list of cybercrime complaints that were filed before the agency this year. From January to September 2018, around 792 cyber libel complaints were lodged, followed by online swindling or estafa and photo-video voyeurism. According to the PNP-ACG, online libel complaints mostly make use of Facebook, Twitter, and other social media sites where offending remarks are posted along with a photo and name of an individual. Online libel is punishable with imprisonment or a fine determined by court under the Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012. The law, however, provides that the penalty of this crime only applies to the original author of the post and not others who simply received and reacted to the said post.
Ang social media, hindi ito ang tamang paraan para magbigkas tayo ng mga bagay na nakakasira ng para sa ibang tao sapagkat ito ay maaaring bumalik sa atin at gusto kong malaman nila na may batas na maaari silang maparusahan.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, says Luis Halandoni and Fidel Agcawili, consultants of the National Democratic Front of the Philippines, can be arrested once they set foot on Philippine soil if a warrant of arrest is issued. According to AFP PIO Chief Colonel Neil De Toyato, this is the mandate of the Philippine National Police and not of the AFP. De Toyato's statement was in response to PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde's recent statement that they are leaving it up to the AFP all the necessary preparations for the homecoming of the two communist leaders.
Hindi ako that privy doon sa kung talagang meron sila. But then kung meron sila, ay kung papaserve sa atin yung warrant, isa-serve natin yung warrant. Kasi as of this time, walang coordination yung ginawa sa amin, whether the Office of the President or probably the Armed Forces of the Philippines.
Halandoni and Agcawili are set to arrive in the Philippines next month for a meeting with President Rodrigo Duterte. It was the president himself who revealed that the two requested for his audience, though they fear being arrested under the Philippine law. And for the news abroad, here's Kath Dumaraos live from Bangkok, Thailand. Kath, good evening.
Good evening, William. The Malibu Beach colony, which is home to many celebrities, is still reeling after the devastating wildfires that ravaged across California. Here's why from Beverly Saison.
The Woolsey Fire in Southern California has burned more than 91,000 acres or 36,826 hectares and was 20% contained with 370 structures destroyed, officials said. The fire had forced authorities to issue evacuation orders for 250,000 people in Ventura and Los Angeles counties and beachside communities, including the Malibu Beach Colony, home to many celebrities. At least 2 people have died in the Woolsey fire, which is 20 miles or 32 kilometers long and 14 miles or 22 kilometers wide, threatening 57,000 structures. On Monday, both returning residents and those who had chosen to wait out the fire surveyed the damage in their neighborhood. On some lots where million-dollar homes once stood, the blaze left behind a scene of utter ruin, a mix of charred wreckage, burned palm trees, debris, and ash. Among the Hollywood stars who lost their homes are Miley Cyrus, Neil Young, Lady Gaga, members of the Kardashian family, and Gerard Butler. One Malibu resident who didn't heed the evacuation order was 59-year-old Tony Haynes. He described how strong winds brought the fire through his neighborhood during the weekend, with the sky growing dark. He said there was so much smoke he put on his scuba diving tank to breathe.
It was a firestorm, worst I've ever seen it. I've fought a lot of fires at my house since I've been here since '63, so in Malibu. But when the firestorm came over the hill here, and it was about 60 mile an hour plus, turned pitch black, and the firestorm came over. After that, just ran around and put out fires.
Haynes and other residents were lucky their homes survived the blaze.
There were nobody because of the other side of the hill. Everybody, all the fire trucks, all the police department, they were over there. We never saw a fire truck, and probably till an hour or two after the fire went through. Police, same thing. I mean, it's not their fault. They were just inundated somewhere else.
Many of those allowed to return were left without power or cell phone service, even if their homes were spared by the flames. Winds up to 40 miles per hour or 64 kilometers per hour were expected to continue in Southern California through Tuesday, heightening the risk of fresh blaze ignited by scattered embers. Beverly Sison, UNTV News and Rescue, San Diego, California.
British Prime Minister Theresa May is facing difficult negotiations as talks over Brexit deals nears the endgame. Jovic Burmas tells us why.
British Prime Minister Theresa May says there are still considerable unresolved issues with the European Union over Brexit as the two sides approach the endgame in negotiations for departure from the bloc. May, speaking at the Guildhall in London's financial district, described the negotiations as immensely difficult. Her compromise plan, which seeks to maintain close trade ties with the EU in the future, faces opposition from Brexiteers, pro-Europeans, the Northern Irish Party that props up our government, and even some of her own ministers.
The negotiations for our departure are now in the endgame, and we are working extremely hard through the night to make progress on the remaining issues in the withdrawal agreement, which are significant. Overwhelmingly, the British people want us to get on with delivering Brexit, and I'm determined to deliver for them. And I want them to know that I will not compromise on what people voted for in the referendum. This will not be an agreement at any cost.
With under 5 months until Britain leaves the EU, talks have stalled over a disagreement on the so-called Northern Irish backstop, an insurance policy to ensure there will be no return to a hard border on the island of Ireland if a future trading relationship is not agreed in time. May's attempt to unblock the talks by considering an extension to a status quo transition period beyond the current proposed end date of December 2021 has both angered Eurosceptics and EU supporters in her party. Negotiations are continuing this week, but officials are warning unless there is dramatic progress by the end of Wednesday, there is unlikely to be a summit this month to approve a Brexit deal. Jovic Burmas, UNTV News and Rescue, London, United Kingdom.
Israel vows to continue pounding militants in Palestinian as the two forces exchange massive deadly attacks amid high tensions. Meanwhile, the Amnesty International strips Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi of its most prestigious human rights prize that she received back in 2009. This report tells us why. In Israel, Violence has flared between Israel and Palestinian militants in Gaza, a day after 7 militants and an Israeli soldier were killed during an undercover Israeli operation in Gaza. Militants fired 300 rockets and mortars at Israel. One hit a bus, seriously injuring a soldier nearby. Israel responded with more than 70 strikes on what it said were targets belonging to Hamas and Islamic Jihad. Israeli Major General Kamil Abu Rukun warned that Hamas has crossed a red line and Israel would continue to respond with an iron fist against all terrorist activity or rocket fire. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu cut short his visit to France for an urgent meeting with his security chiefs. In USA, a U.S. think tank has identified at least 13 of an estimated 20 undeclared missile operating bases inside North Korea, underscoring the challenge for American negotiators hoping to persuade Pyongyang to give up its nuclear weapons and long-range missiles. In reports released by the Washington, D.C.-based Center for Strategic and International Studies, researcher Joseph Bermudez said maintenance and minor infrastructure improvements have been observed at some of the sites, despite the ongoing negotiations. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and U.S. President Donald Trump pledged to work towards nuclearization at their landmark June summit in Singapore, but the agreement was short on specific and negotiations have made little headway. And in Ireland, Amnesty International has withdrawn its most prestigious human rights prize from Aung San Suu Kyi, accusing the Myanmar leader of perpetuating human rights abuses by not speaking out about violence against the Rohingya Muslim minority. The international human rights group named Suu Kyi as its 2009 Ambassador of Conscience Award recipient when she was still under house arrest for her opposition to Myanmar's oppressive military junta. Amnesty International said in a statement on Tuesday she had failed to speak out and had shielded the security forces from accountability for the violence against the Rohingya, calling it a shameful betrayal of the values she once stood for. Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue. And those are the news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, William.
Thank you very much, Kath Dumaraos, live from Bangkok, Thailand. Celebrities who portrayed superhero characters on screen lead tributes on social media to the late comic book legend Stan Lee. Leslie Longbowen tells us why.
Stan Lee, who dreamed up Spider-Man, Iron Man, the Hulk, Black Panther, and a cavalcade of other Marvel Comics superheroes, died at the age of 95. His daughter JC Lee said in a statement that her father felt an obligation to his fans to keep creating and that he loved his life and he loved what he did for a living. She did not mention the circumstances of Lee's death, but the celebrity news website TMZ said an ambulance was called to his Hollywood Hills home early Monday and that he died at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. In recent years, Lee had periodically suffered from illnesses, including bout of pneumonia, U.S. media reported. Screen superheroes have been sharing across social media how Lee and his work affected them. Iron Man actor Robert Downey Jr. posted on his Instagram, "I owe it all to you." Chris Evans, best known for playing Captain America, tweeted, "He exuded love and kindness and will leave an indelible mark on so many lives." Hugh Jackman, who played Wolverine in the X-Men films, called Lee a pioneering force in the superhero universe. Evangeline Lilly, who portrayed Ant-Man's superhero partner, the Wasp, also shared a tribute on Twitter. Tom Hardy, who stars in the latest film based on the Marvel Comics character Venom, shared a photo of Lee on set via Instagram. As a writer and editor, Lee was key to the ascension of Marvel into a comic book titan in the 1960s, when, in collaboration with artists such as Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko, he created superheroes who would enthrall generations of young readers. Disney bought Marvel Entertainment in 2009 for $4 billion to expand Disney's roster of characters, with the most iconic ones having been Lee's handiwork. Lee was known for making a cameo in every Marvel film, though he had left the Marvel company in 1972. He remained Chairman Emeritus. Lee was widely credited with adding a new layer of complexity and humanity to superheroes. His characters were not made of stone, even if they appeared to have been chiseled from granite. They had love and money worries, and endured tragic flaws or feelings of insecurity. Leslie Lumboan, UNTV News and Rescue.
A homeless man who used a shopping trolley to fend off a knife-wielding attacker who stabbed a police officer in Melbourne has been unexpectedly rewarded by grateful citizens who had donated more than 130,000 Australian dollars by Monday to help him. Michael Rogers, nicknamed Trolley Man on social media, repeatedly tried to ram the attacker, Hassan Khalif Shire Ali, who was lunging at police and had earlier stabbed 3 people, one fatally in Friday's attack. His actions were filmed by witnesses and local media, and a charity group attacked him down afterwards to get his story. Rogers' bravery was made even more remarkable as he was meters away from a vehicle containing gas cylinders that Shire Ali had set alight. He quickly became a hero on social media as people praised his selfless act. Donna Stolzenberg, the founder of registered charity Melbourne Homeless Collective, started a fundraising page on GoFundMe to help the homeless man. Stolzenberg said Rogers was going to need a lot of support, including financial literacy and in making sure nobody takes advantage of him. And those are the reasons behind the news November 13, 2018. On behalf of Rheena, Villamor-Camara, and Angelo Castro III, I am William Thio. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.